Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. We're here at Wensfield Gurdwara to discuss about Punjabi A-levels. As you know, that Punjabi A-level is due to be scrapped by the government in 2018. So these youngsters are here to talk about their viewpoints, whether it should continue or we should try and save A-levels or we should let them go. Right, so we've had a few discussions like this before. So Arminder, what do you think about this whole issue about A-levels?
Most people, the only reason they're actually doing it is to get easy UCAS points. They're not actually doing it for any other reason, to help. It won't help them in their life. Majority of the time, it might help in some cases. Majority of the time, it won't help them in their life. The only reason they're doing it is because their parents are forcing them to do it so they can get good UCAS points, easy UCAS points to get into a good university.
So kids, according to you, are being forced to do Punjabi.
We got one here. He does Punjabi. He does Punjabi. So do you do it on your free will or you get forced?
I'm getting forced.
Are you doing? Okay. What are you doing right now in terms of learning Punjabi?
GCSE.
You're doing GCSE Punjabi.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy the language?
No, not really.
Not at all.
No.
Okay, but why do you do it then?
Because I get forced to do it.
By who?
My mum.
Okay.
Yeah.
What? Okay. What did she say to you that, makes you?
No Xbox if you don't.
Okay, so you get bribed into coming.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Not really bribed.
Do you not
threatened?
Yeah.
Do you not feel you got any benefit from learning Punjabi at all?
No, as long as I speak it and I can read and write it like to standard, then I think it's alright.
Okay, when you go to do you travel abroad? Do you go to Punjab?
Yeah.
Okay,
sometimes,
do you communicate with anyone?
Yeah.
Okay, and do you think you would have been able to do that without having learnt Punjabi?
Without going to Punjabi class, I already knew I could speak Punjabi fluently anyway.
Okay, so Jasvinder ji, I know you teach Punjabi, so you've got youngsters' viewpoint saying they're forced because of UCAS points only, and he's learning and he would have learnt the same without actually attending any classes. What do you feel about that?
According to Arminder, he said it's not helping children, they're forced to do, but I'm teaching Punjabi for last about 12-13 years. So on my own experience, you can force them to do up to like beginning levels. They're starting off, then they don't want to do it, parents push them and bring them. But come to GCSEs, AL level and AS levels, forcing them. They are coming with their will because they want to learn, they know the importance of Punjabi. So that's why they are doing it, because they want to do it.
Okay, thank you. You got a point to answer that.
You say that most people do it. Most people actually, if you look at Punjabi, most people do the kids' classes and stuff because they're forced. And after A-level, you can't force them because they're about 15, 16 and they say, I ain't going to go anyway. And if you look at it, no one does the A-levels. Only 160 people did the A-levels because you can't force them. If you look at the kids' classes, there's thousands of kids going to the kids' classes, but how many actually do the A-levels? Barely any of them.
Okay, so that's the thing, because that's what the actual point. The kids wants to do it, that's why it shouldn't be scrapped. Because only at the beginning levels, kids are forced to come to Punjabi class, and sometimes because at that age, they don't realize it is good or not good for them.
Thank you, Jaswinder. So that's a really important point. Okay, so let's just summarize that. So basically what Jaswinder Benji is saying, that kids, at the beginning, you need to go to Punjabi classes, like parents need to push. So once he's done his GCSE, after that, yes, it will be your choice whether you want to take it further or not. But what Jaswinder Benji has also pointed out, that now, because of the government scrapping it, you won't have that choice anyway, even if you want to do it. Is that fair, Kiran?
Yeah, I think it's fair, because I might not be doing it anyway.
But is it better to have a choice or to not even have a choice to learn Punjabi?
Yes.
Would you like, for example, like what level have you learnt up to?
I'm not going uni, so I don't need to do GCSE or
Okay,
A-levels.
but
so.
you learn Punjabi at home?
Yeah, I know
you can
Punjabi.
read and write.
Yeah, I know how to read and write it.
Okay, did you learn it all at home from your mum?
Yeah,
or
from
did you come
mum.
to classes?
I knew how to speak it, Bella, when I was small, because I used
Okay.
to communicate in Punjabi.
Okay.
But we speak English now, but I know how to read and write it.
Okay, and has that helped you at all?
Well, not yet. I'm still studying at the moment.
Okay, but in the sense that, has it helped you do anything else outside of pure education? Has it helped you in any other way, being able to read, write, speak Punjabi?
Well, you could communicate properly in India, read and the boards in India and stuff like that written in Punjabi, so I could read that.
So is that a good thing?
Yeah, it is.
Could you, for example, if you went to India, you couldn't speak, read or write. Imagine that. How do you think you would feel?
Well, if I couldn't speak it, that would be a main problem.
Okay. Would you enjoy it as much?
No.
Would you be able to talk to your relatives?
No.
Okay. Okay, that's a fair point. Right, so and following from that, is it good to have a choice or not to have a choice of being able to?
I think it's
Do
good
the
to have a
language or
choice,
not?
but I don't really think you need an A level.
You don't need it personally.
Yeah,
But
but
say if you decided to later on go ahead and do it.
because I think Punjabi is too easy to be put as an A level. It's not. I don't think Punjabi is that hard. So you should do a harder subject, like really earn it, learn like your A level.
Harder subject.
Yeah.
Like?
Punjabi's easy.
Okay, so you find it. Okay, who in here finds Punjabi difficult at the moment? Okay, Sharon.
Hello.
Hello. Tell us how do you feel about Punjabi? I mean, what's your relationship
Right.
with Punjabi?
Right, well, from a young age, I was probably with my parents. They wanted me and obviously my siblings to go to Punjabi school, and we, in a sense, I guess, we were told we didn't have a choice. We had to go to Punjabi school. So to be honest, when we got there, we didn't have the viewpoint and the mindset of actually wanting to study it. Probably similar to what you youngsters are saying here, that you just want to go, obviously, you were told to go to Punjabi school, not that you had a choice kind of thing from your parents. So I personally viewed it completely differently. Like, I didn't really want to study it, in all honesty.
Do you know exactly what they're talking about?
Yeah, so I've been there.
Yeah.
But now on the other side, now that we've got a little one,
Right.
I do think it's a bit different now,
Okay.
because I do want her to study Punjabi when she's older. Whether she wants to or not is
Okay.
different, but
Right.
I personally want her to, because it's her culture, it's her background. And if
Okay.
these youngsters don't study it, in years to come, we're going to completely lose it. We're going to lose all, our culture. We're going to lose like the tradition and everything. So we need to continue, we need to carry that on and carry
Okay.
it forward.
So how many years did you learn? Just a second. So how many years did you learn Punjabi for?
Well, me and my sister, we went to Punjabi school for probably the best part of 3 to 4 years. Probably didn't get a lot out of it. My dad at home, obviously, he helped us study, reading and the writing, etc. So I do know that, but I didn't get a GCSE or an A level. But I think nowadays, if there was more structure towards it, in terms of the teaching, and there was more an incentive for them to go out, I do think that if you guys had the A level and the GCSE, you could actually progress career-wise in this country with that A level Punjabi. I know that you mentioned in terms of UCAS points, but personally within the family, I mean particularly my mum and different family members, if you have got that qualification, you could work for different industries and do interpreting, for example. From people that obviously come from India, they can't speak proper English and things like that, or they're reading, you could use those skills to your advantage. So career-wise as well.
Thank you. So you raised a couple of really interesting points now. Sharon has just said, so in terms of taking it further, Haki mentioned that he didn't actually enjoy going to Punjabi, he's being forced to do it. So in terms of that, a direct answer for that would be to perhaps improve ways of teaching Punjabi so that children feel a bit more interested in learning it. And the second point addresses your concern, which was it's just for UCAS and you're not actually going to benefit later on, as well as, so there is a third point raised by the kids, which is it's too easy. Can anyone answer that?
Couple of points. You know how they're saying that basically Punjabi is not going to be useful. It is actually useful in the future. It doesn't happen straight away. I work in a company where basically it's all about insurance, it's about documenting all the terms and conditions, and it's all in English. Now, everybody buys insurance, right? And it's difficult for some people to understand the English language. So now they're going to start up a project at work where basically we're going to make it multi-language. So basically the terms and conditions are going to be Punjabi, Hindi, whatever language they need to do. Right? And that's where my job becomes easier because I can understand it. Like I can't read and write it, which I could. It would make my job a lot easier and more beneficial that way as well. When I was a kid, granddad used to send us to Punjabi school. Didn't used to enjoy it, but that's probably because of the way the teachers were at the time. They were strict and basically it's more like dictatorship rather than teaching. But then if you guys are saying it's easy, then why not do it? Because not everything in life is easy.
This way. Someone said it keeps the community language alive. And when we were doing it at the Godwara last week as well, there's that guy came and said that it keeps the community language alive and keeps your background alive. But the point of the A level is not to keep your community language alive. So if anyone wants to learn Punjabi, which I'm saying is a good thing anyway, but so they can learn it in their own time, there's no need for the actual A level, because the A level isn't created to keep your community language alive or anything.
Okay, so Kiran, can you just address that point made by Gush saying and Jacinda, what's wrong with doing something that's easy? Why is it a bad thing?
It's not really, is it?
You still think it's easy, but it's still hard, yeah?
No, it's easy, but
You want to go on that? Okay, that's fine.
It's easy, but it's unfair to other people. For example, if they got other people, the goalie who want to get the same.
So you're worried about
other people who
that
can't
it's not fair on
other
them.
people, English people, if they learn English, they're not going to get any bonus UCAS points for doing it beforehand. If they do, for example, you got other languages like Polish, Romanian, other
That's
people
right.
coming in. Okay,
That's
the
right.
Polish have got an A level.
Yeah.
But the majority of the other people are coming over to England
Yeah.
from other countries. There's plenty of people coming over. They don't
Yeah.
have an A level in their language.
There
And so,
is.
not majority of them.
There is
don't.
quite a few.
A level, the Polish do, but for example, there's quite a lot of other ones which don't have an A level.
Yeah.
Also, just back to your point again, how you're saying like, if the English people wants, they're at disadvantage because they can't learn, they don't get extra points for learning the English. But if you think of the other way around, if they wanted, they could learn Punjabi. Yeah, they could learn Punjabi, right? And then you're doing the same way because you know Punjabi and you're having to learn English from a young age. It's the flip side. So you're both in the same position. It's just what choices you make. If people want to learn Punjabi, they go ahead and do it. I wish I did it back. I wish I could do it. I'll speak it, but I can't read and write it. And looking back now, looking in the future, I want my kids to understand it and read it and write it and be fluent in it. Gives them an advantage, whether you see benefits straight away or not. But later on in life, you will.
Add on to that, as you said, for your culture, to know the culture, you just don't need to read and write. How will you know the culture? If mom, as a parent, not here tomorrow, you won't be able to read. How will you learn the culture?
They want to do their own code, learn their culture, and you need to know Punjabi. But then if they want to know about their own culture and learn Punjabi, they can learn it in their own homes or go to classes and learn it. But what's the point of what's the need of an A level at the end of it? It's a qualification.
Right.
No, well, I'm saying just grab the qualification. Anyone wants to learn it.
Yeah.
That's the teachers have the learning chance. But what is the need for the A level to get their bonus UCAS points or anything like that?
Again, just to clarify, it's not just about the UCAS points, seriously. Purely because when you're older and you've got that behind you, it's something that you can feel proud of, because at the end of the day, when you've been brought up in this country, okay, England, you're learning English. Yeah. So all the the other cultures out there, like obviously the Gore and things like that, they speak it at home. They can read and write it if they want. If they choose, their parents can obviously teach it them. But they go to school, they learn English literature, which is what you youngsters do as well, which is what me and my husband Gersh did as well. But you've got Punjabi, it's your background, it's your culture, it's something to feel proud of. I didn't do this. I didn't do it when I was at school, when I was little, when I was probably your age, a lot younger. I went to Punjabi school, but I had a different thinking. I didn't think the same as what I think now, and I wish probably that I did actually, study a lot harder, get a GCSE, get an A level, and something to feel proud of. I've got A levels, I've got GCSEs, but not in Punjabi, and I wish that I did because it's my background and it's my culture.
The benefit of hindsight.
Yeah.
So, coming to the Gurdwara, how much do you understand? If you don't, I know what you're saying. You could learn all of that outside school. You don't need to formalise it. I'm going to put it to you because you teach Punjabi. You know a little bit about the specification. GCSE and A level. So GCSE, what kind of topics do you learn about?
You cover 4 skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Speaking obviously covers your presentations, your conversation topics. Therefore, kids learn so many new words because your vocabulary has to be up to a standard to get good marks. So again, if you're thinking you just do Punjabi, but you won't do as up to a standard, how will you learn that actual words? Because I'm sure all the parents don't think you need to know. They think it's easy Punjabi, speak, that's fine. Yeah. Kids can understand and speak, that's well good enough. Yeah. But if you're doing GCSE Punjabi, I'm sure Haki will back me up the things he did not say in Punjabi, normal daily Punjabi, daily life. He did speak, but he didn't use those words, and he did use those words in his speaking and reading and writing.
Okay. Abhinur, can I ask you a question? In terms of when you're at home, do you speak Punjabi all the time, or do you mix it up?
I sometimes mix it up, but when I'm talking to my relatives and they're talking to me on the phone or something, I have to speak to some Punjabi because more likely they understand Punjabi. Okay. But if I didn't speak to them Punjabi and I speak to them English, they'll be like, what you saying? Right. Like, I know some of my family do know English, but still Punjabi speaking is just your background.
And then now can you tell a little bit about the actual A level as well?
Okay, when you're doing S and A levels, you do read letters, essays. It's not letters anymore, obviously, but you convert it to emails, but still like lengthy Punjabi.
Okay.
conversations and topics. Also, with the Punjabi A levels, you do novels, which I'm sure kids won't read otherwise, will they?
Let's ask them. Who will, because you're not doing GCSE or A level, I'm going to ask one of you four. How many of you are likely to pick up a novel because you're not in that A level environment or a GCSE environment? Are you likely to pick up a Punjabi novel or a Punjabi poem?
No.
Who does Punjabi regularly? As out of routine or because they're forced? Okay.
Because you're forced. It's you.
Who's forced? We know about you, unfortunately. Your mom teaches Punjabi.
So in A levels, you have to read a novel, and you can pick like certain novels, and you answer questions about it and the backstory behind. But you're using your GCSE skills to do A levels, so I don't understand the point of doing an A level when you've already got a GCSE.
What's the difference between just generally GCSE and an A level?
There's a big difference. You know, with GCSE, it's just like the basic understanding, right? And then it's just like, you know, it just gets you through, right? Just about. But then with A level, it just enhances that knowledge, right? And you know, there's like quite a bit of emphasis on about being forced to learn Punjabi, forced to learn Punjabi. How many of your kids actually like going to school?
But the point is, it depends what subject it is. Most of the subjects I'm homeschooled. I've been for plenty of years anyway. And I've done most on subjects anyway, and I've got good marks in all of them. The point is, we're saying that if you want to learn Punjabi, you can learn Punjabi and you can take that skill with you as a job. We're saying, what's the point of the actual A level? If you want to show you can know Punjabi, you can show an employer in 2 minutes, you know Punjabi, or you can show them your GCSE. But they're saying, the government's saying scrap the A level. But what's the point of keeping that A level? That's the whole point.
Do you know, I just want to make one point. Do you know that it's not just A level Punjabi being scrapped? Perhaps there's Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, perhaps Portuguese, Polish, Bengali, Hindi. Hindi, I'm not sure if there was. There's quite a few that are at risk, okay? And there's 4 or 5 that have been named that will be actually scrapped as of June 2018, okay? Because there's not enough kids taking interest, and because of the examiners, they'll need special training or something like that. So there's various arguments by Aqua, and it's actually on their website saying, as of 2018, there's going to be nothing, right? So, point being, it's not in isolation, okay? So
there's only 160 people. Last year, 167 students did the A level, and the amount of funding they're the government's putting into the thing, it's a waste of most of the money. There's a lot of funding for them 167 people.
That's a good point.
For example, they're scrapping the Polish
point.
one as well. 14,000 people did the A level in Polish last year.
Yeah.
And they're scrapping that as well for funding. So they're going to scrap the Polish and 14,000
why
people
do you think that is? Why
for
is
government funding. Basically, they're keeping the cuts low or whatever. They're cutting the budget.
So that actually does make you think. Why you know, if they're actually scrapping something which is, you know, okay, Punjabi, there's less demand for it. But if they're actually, if there's a supply for Polish, why is it being scrapped?
Because they're cutting because they're saying they're cutting the languages for funding and other various reasons they've given. So if they're going to cut the other languages, and they've got to cut Punjabi as well, fair enough.
The thing is that most parents and like kids, they want to know how to speak, learn, and obviously read Punjabi. But there's GCSE, you learn the basics. But when you're speaking to people like relatives, so you speak basic Punjabi. You don't speak really. A levels are going into really complicated Punjabi, and you don't need that in an average day. So even at the workplace, when you speak to people, you speak to them normal. You don't speak like really old Punjabi. That it's complicated in A level. You don't need that. That's what I'm thinking.
Have you actually looked at any of the texts?
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah.
Okay, and you find them too old?
Yeah, I don't think no one speaks that kind of Punjabi nowadays.
So is that the Punjabi you just want to learn? You're satisfied with that? Because
when
but when it comes to newspapers or taking Punjabi a little bit further than just talking to your relatives, you don't actually see the function of Punjabi. Is that right? Is that all? What do you think?
The A level, we don't get the function. What is the point of the A level? Is there? We don't get the point of it. It's just a waste of time.
Right, let's get to the point of A level. Okay.
What is the point of it?
Now we've talked about what actually what it contains. Okay, so it contains letter writing, it contains reading novels, and it contains actually learning a lot of vocabulary as well, which you may not use on a day-to-day level. Okay.
Rarely ever.
Rarely ever. Okay, that's what you. Okay, but when you actually go that much further, when you actually start working and in employment and things like that, do you think you think you're only going to be in France or Spain? I mean, is it seriously?
Businesses aren't going
do
to
you
go to
not
Punjab or
actually
anything?
see the limit? Do you
no
not actually
businesses
see the
go
link?
to the Punjab, or you never get a job getting transferred to Punjab or anything.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay. Can we answer that?
Yeah, I can answer that. Yeah. There is so much business going to back to India. For example, Lloyds Bank Group, there is bigger branches in India as well, in Mumbai and stuff.
They don't speak Punjabi in Mumbai.
They do. And you do speak to people in Punjabi as well. Yeah. So you can't say that it's not going back to India. It is going back to India. Benji wants to add something.
Yeah, sorry. And just quickly as well, English literature that you guys are studying for GCSE and A levels,
Yeah, good
you don't use Shakespeare language
And Chaucer.
every day. So when you go to
Shakespeare, Chaucer.
your
So
employment,
should we scrap English literature as well?
Most A-levels, most people don't do A-levels.
Okay, so why do we
But
do
to-
A-levels? Okay,
Sorry.
forget
But to-
Punjabi.
yeah, but to summarise it, at the end of the day, you've got the background. I'm going to go into this again. You've got the culture. And to be honest, it's something for nothing. It's like a freebie that you guys are getting. Do a little bit of studying, get your UCAS points, get it behind you. And it's something that you guys can easily get compared to, you know, other people from other backgrounds. You know, so I can take your
Maybe
point
it's
about
too
English.
easy, isn't it? Maybe it's
It's
like
too easy for you, but yeah, do a bit of extra studying. And even if it is the old Punjabi, just study it. Because you know, it's easy. It's something for nothing. It's your background. It's something for nothing. Yeah, you've still got your English and your English literature. Yeah, you don't use Shakespeare everyday language, and probably you don't use, you know, you might do, Benji, like you mentioned, like, you know, if you go to India, etc. You know, some of the older Punjabi or however you wanna word it. But it's good. It's, you know, it's something that you guys should be proud to do.
she's pointed out other reasons other than just, you know, UCAS as well as UCAS. She's also pointed. You want to answer that question? Okay.
So you got the one point was that you got English literature as well. A lot of people in England don't even do the English A level, and they still get plenty of good jobs anyway. Because the English A level, majority of it's about Macbeth and the rest of that, and that's a waste of time as well. So if you actually look at most people, in England, a very small amount of people actually do the A level. I forget pass it, barely any pass. The majority of the people don't pass it and do the A level. If you look at the actual figures, most people, loads of people don't do the English A level. There's not as many as you think. Most people, quite a lot of people don't.
There are quite a lot.
There's a lot, but not
I haven't got
everyone.
the figures
Not
right now,
everyone.
but you can't. You
Not
know.
everyone does the actual English A level, and they still get
No,
everywhere.
not everyone does it,
They
that's
still
true.
can get plenty of good jobs anyway. And another point is that if you go into India and you're saying job, majority of India doesn't even speak Punjabi. Majority of India speaks Hindi, or there's like 30 odd languages in India. Very few people speak Punjabi in India, and majority of the companies don't even go to India.
Following from that argument, you don't really need to go to school. You don't need to do. You know, you can just pick up different subjects. You know, in different things. You know, because you can just pick things up yourself.
I think the point is that GCSE is sufficient enough to not. I think when you look at like a CV or something, if you say you got a Punjabi GCSE, I think it's kind of the same because I think people realise that there's not much difference in Punjabi A levels as there is Punjabi GCSEs.
Okay, can I just ask you a really simple question? How far do you when you imagine your life, when you look into the future? How far can you see ahead? Like how many years are you looking into your future? Like, you know, you're talking about A levels, degrees and things like that. How far do you
Same
imagine your
3-4
future?
years. Just
3-4 years. So you're imagining GCSE, A level, and then what? What else?
going to uni.
Going to uni, and then it stops there, or you've imagined a job yet, or not? Huh?
I think
What
I know
kind
what
of
to
a
do when
job
older
do you want to get?
and become an accountant as
Accountant. What about you, Arminder?
Accountant.
You want to be an accounnt, right?
well.
Many people. Maninder?
Accountant as well.
So are you looking as far as your job then? That's how far you can see? Okay. What about you, Abhinur? You want to be a solicitor? You already decided? Brilliant. And Kiran?
Go into business.
You're going into business, okay. And
She's going to
Sharon?
become a lawyer.
Lawyer as well. Right, there was a reason for the question, okay, because we were listening to Benji earlier, and she was coming from a similar point when she said that she was forced to learn Punjabi, and she did it for a couple of years, and she wished she had taken a bit more interest, because come this whole circle, she's come round now, she's got children, and that's when you start questioning about your identity. Okay, I don't know, in terms of who you think you are, your connection with the community, whoever wants to answer this question, where do you place yourself in terms of community now, as a person, as a human?
You need to know how to speak Punjabi. If you don't have society, you need to know, because most of your relatives or whatever.
Is that as far as your need for Punjabi is?
Maybe
That's what I want you to. In a way, I want you to ask yourself this: is this how far I need to be?
Maybe if you're going to
Just to
insurance
communicate.
companies or other places, you'll need to communicate, but most of them will be speaking, and a GCSE Punjabi speaking and listening is sufficient enough.
Okay, so can we? Okay, let's remove that label. Let's remove the label of GCSE. Let's remove the label of A level. We know what we get from GCSE. We know GCSE teaches you about different topics for geography, history, culture, Diwali, Baisakhi, Gurpurab, you learn all those things properly. You learn into facts and figures, you can read the text. A-level, you go on, you read like, really well-known authors, you learn about poetry of Punjabi, and same with English A-level. You learn all those things, which otherwise you probably will not pick up a book from the shelf and start opening and reading, because I did A-level Punjabi, and I was forced to read about 5 novels, and I really enjoyed it, actually. I wouldn't have done it otherwise. And as a result, I continued. I mean, I used it straight away with my university, UCAS. It helped me get into university as well. The points counted, and then it continued. At that time, it was almost like I did it unquestioningly. I didn't even question it, because I thought, you know what, this is my language. It was just a flow for me. But because you are like the second, third generations now, you do question everything, which is right, which is valid. You need to question, okay? But you've got these tags of GCSE, A-level, and things like that. The reason the older generation, their concern, is because now the top bar of our language is being taken away. And they say, there's a famous quote, that if you want to kill the culture, you take away the language of the people. Okay? Yes, no one can take away the language as such, but what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? A-level, take A-level, we'll get less children. You think, oh, GCSE, what's GCSE? There's not even an A-level. That's going to be the next argument. It's because it reduces the prestige of the language, of the subject. Because, if you do maths GCSE and there's no maths A-level, yeah? Yeah, if there's a GCSE physics and there's no A-level physics, you think it can't be serious. It can't be a serious subject. You take it away. In 2 years' time, it's what, 15? 2-3 years' time, there will, as far as everyone's concerned, there'll be no Punjabi. So youngsters will not be learning.
One point you're saying about keeping the culture alive. What's more important, the actual language of the history? If you do Punjabi at GCSE, you don't go into the history of Sikhi or anything. Yeah. Are we on about keeping the culture? What's more important in your point? The history more important or the language more important?
My point's not quite complete yet. So what I'm still saying, because with A-level, you actually do explore everything, and knowing the language, I've actually had the chance to teach. I've taught my community, and I've taught adults, I've taught children. So, I've benefited my community in a way, because now those people are learning Gurbani, okay? Now, in terms of Sikhi, not everyone learns Punjabi just, for Sikhism. Perhaps they learn it for different reasons. But that is the point. How will you read Gurani Bani? How will you read your Guru's Bani?
But most people who do the Punjabi A-level, or don't do it to learn about the history, most of them don't know much about the history. A lot of them know mainly about just the language, how to speak, read and write it. Like, so most of us could, again, so if you put most kind of A-level, we go to history classes for I don't know how many years now. But then if you put us against someone who knows the actual A-level, I bet you will know more about history than that A-level person.
I'm not just talking, thing is, do you think history is everything? What about the actual language? Now, I'll tell you right now, the language that I speak to with my parents, my family, is colloquial Punjabi, okay? Now, what's colloquial Punjabi? It's slang Punjabi, okay? You miss grammar, the grammar's misplaced, you miss out a sentence. When you write, it doesn't matter, there's no standard. With a GCSE, with A-level, this is the reason why people have these GCSEs. This is the reason why you have passes, fails, you have grades. That's the reason Aqua is saying we can't even set the boundary because we haven't got enough children. How can they have boundaries? Because there's about 100 and so whatever people, 167 people doing it. They can't do A, B, C, D, whatever, because there's not enough people to compare it to. So you need that standard that because what you're learning is of a substandard. That what's going to happen in the future? You are the voice of future. Okay, everyone, all the children refuse. Everyone outside India. Now there's a big population of Sikhs, Punjabi-speaking people outside Punjab today. Okay, and if they refuse to learn Punjabi to a proper standard, what's going to happen to this language? The whole language is in question right now, because that's how you put it all into. And you know what? Maybe it's a wake-up call. Scrapping Punjabi A-levels is a wake-up call for our community leaders, for the Gurdwara committees, for people like me, for people like you. Why are we learning Punjabi? This is the reason why we're having this debate. You need to question, I need the youngsters, you need to question yourselves. What are we? Who are we a part of? Why are we learning this? Okay? And teachers, what's going wrong? Why are these youngsters why don't they want to learn it? Why? Where have we, you could question, where have we gone wrong? They're doing other A-levels. Yes, they might not see the benefit of, in a job environment, they might not think, okay, Punjab is the next Bangalore, or, we might not go and trade there. Fine, you might not see the essential, you can link it as much as you want, but we haven't convinced the youngsters as such. But where have we gone wrong in terms of teaching methods? Where have we gone in terms of motivating, inspiring our youngsters to go ahead, learn about Sikhi, learn about Barney? We need to question. That's the reason why we're here. That's the reason we've got that wake-up call. Aqua's picked up on it, and they can be that. Last week Mr. Nagra pointed out. Now he's the one who initiated A-level Punjabi and GCSE. He's put a lot of work into this. Now he's the one. He said Aqua is a very respectable body. They will listen to us. We can have 1,000 petitions, but is that the point? Is that going to answer the? Is that going to motivate youngsters? Youngsters still going to think there's no point. I think it is time. We're not probably. I don't know if we're going to answer this question today, because you have made up your minds to a certain large extent. And yes, minds can be changed, or but
what's more important for the
there is
culture
something missing.
to know the actual history? If you had to,
link.
what's more important, knowing the history and the actual culture, or knowing the language? If you do a GCSE,
You know what? It's like this. It's like this. It goes hand in hand.
a lot of people who know the Punjabi A level don't know a lot about the history.
Now, how are you going to read the history background written by historians of Punjabi who have written in Punjabi because they think that's the language? How are you going to find out?
They all translate every book. Most of the books.
Who's translating them?
They've translated.
Who's translating them? How old are those
Sikhs.
people? How old are those people?
Most of the Sikhs have translated.
How old are they?
Old.
Exactly. Are they going to live
But the
forever?
books are still around now.
What about you guys?
The books are still around now. The old historian books, all of them have been converted into English.
Have they all?
Majority of them.
But what if you do find a book which you want to know about, but there's going to be no language?
Most people look online. to
Number
find
one,
out
what is
history.
Online. Do not rely on
Okay,
Google.
so
Google doesn't
but
tell you. Google Baba doesn't tell you everything.
He does
okay?
majority.
Yeah? He hasn't got all the answers. He does not translate everything properly. Who has tried to translate, forget Punjabi for a second, Spanish to English?
Translator, yeah.
I did German, A-level. The amount of times I typed in my text in Google and
You shouldn't
got a
use Google. There's
translation.
proper good apps now which you can get for free which do
You
it
can get
properly.
good apps. Can you
Use
get
the app.
good Punjabi app?
You probably can, yeah.
Who's going to make it?
Loads of people have made the apps. There's plenty of apps that you
Translate
use
too.
for a phone. You got iPhone or something.
Yeah, I translate, download.
But the point of this debate wasn't about Punjabi. Punjabi is important. We're not saying that. The point
No,
is
but
that
what I'm
A-level is
saying
not
is-
important.
yeah.
That was the point of the debate. A-level isn't important. It's not relevant in any way. If it's
You
scrap it,
missed
who
my point
cares?
about standards. Okay, so what do you wanna
GCSE
say?
still set the standard. The GCSE is still there. It's still
There's
set
no
the
stand
standard.
until you get out the colloquialism. Okay, you learn the Punjabi, the formal Punjabi that you need to read, write, address people. There's no.
When you address
there's-
a
you're
normal per-
missing,
when you
there's
address-
a big link missing.
When you address the majority of the people, are you going to need formal Punjabi or the Punjabi they speak?
Sorry, when you address the
When
majority.
you address a majority-
But the thing is, I'm talking now. We've gone to a different part of the debate now. We've gone beyond the little communication to your parents, your relatives, your uncle, your chacha, your chachi. We've gone beyond that now. We're talking about the history. We're talking about the background, the Sikhi, the Gurbani. We're talking about that side of it. How are we gonna? Are we going to leave that? The 60-year-olds
I've
who
learnt
are
loads of
written the history.
I've learnt most of
What about
history
you
and I
guys?
don't know Punjabi.
When are you going to take over?
So I don't know Punjabi and I still know most of history. You can learn the history without Punjabi. You don't need to know Punjabi to learn the
Do
history.
you think you know? Okay, there's certain books which have been written in Punjabi, like I said earlier. How are you going to touch
Most
those
of them
if
are
you don't know Punjabi?
translated. Most of them have got a translation copy. I could find the majority of the
What about Guru
famous-
Granth Sahib Ji? It's written in
It's translated.
Gurbani.
It has been translated.
Yeah, but are you going to rely on that?
Yeah, why not?
So you're never gonna actually
Not the pronunciation,
touch
not
the
actually
Guru
read it.
and the
Well,
Bani.
actually read it, but you can still understand the meaning of it without knowing Punjabi.
Okay, but what about the Bani, the actual mitas, the sweetness, the melody, the harmony, the poetry? How are you going to ever appreciate that until you've actually taken it to that darag, everything? How are you going to take it to that next
But the
level?
people who do A-level don't do
until-
that.
Does
Majority
anyone
of-
else want to answer that? I mean, there is answering. Anyone want to say something else? Abhinur?
The people
Okay.
who actually do A levels
Okay, pass it.
don't really want to read Guru Granth Sahib Ji or anything.
That's your. I would say. Respectfully, I would say that's because you're not looking beyond your jobs.
If you want to read
You're
Guru
not
Granth
looking
Sahib Ji,
further on.
if you want to need
because by the time that time comes, you are a mother, you're a father, you're an auntie, you're a chacha, or you're a grandma, and it's like, oh my God, I need to learn.
If you want to learn Guru Granth Sahib, read Guru Granth Sahib. You don't need an A level to motivate you. You can read it. You can learn Punjabi yourself.
Not
You
the-
don't need an A level. What is the need
It's
of
not
the
the
A
point, it's the
level?
discipline of learning the language
You can-
structure.
No
You will
one's
not
saying
learn the
forget
language
teaching.
structure.
You can still get someone to teach you. There are plenty of people who still teach you Punjabi without the motivation
Okay.
of an A level.
But I would say though that you're saying you can learn it at home with your parents, etc. But it's like what you just said there, Benji, that you mentioned, that basically it's the motivation. So if you go to a classroom and you teach it there, you've got the structure, you've got the proper skills, you've got the knowledge and the background. Like I mentioned to you before, I went to Punjabi school not because I wanted to, because my parents just sent me there. And to be honest, I didn't learn a great deal. But I would love to, read and write
What was
it
the
properly.
reason? Was it your, I mean, if like, I know it's going back a bit, what was the reason you didn't learn? I mean, because you've obviously come out, you've been to school, you've been to uni and all that, but why didn't you get out as much? You still feel that. I feel that you're still clinging on to those few years that you were there.
It was probably mainly because of the structure. It was the teachers. Well, I can't just say it was the teachers, but it was basically because we didn't actually want to go. We didn't have a desire to actually want to go, so it's the motivation. Whereas now, when I look back, I would want to have done it, so I could do all the reading and everything.
I think it was basically like the fact that basically in our days, it was like the parents and grandparents used to force us to go, right? And you used to be on a Saturday or a Sunday, which is our time, cartoon time,
Things,
And I think that's the difference. If they did it as part of school, then it's completely different and people want to learn it.
Oh, so you're saying that you're not saying that A-level Punjabi is important, but did you do the actual A-level English? And if you didn't do it, so I know you didn't do it because you just told me. You didn't do it. So did that hinder you? Wouldn't that have been more important than Punjabi?
Okay. The reason I didn't do A-level English was probably because I wasn't interested in it and I wanted to do other subjects like business studies, maths and sociology, which I got better grades. Obviously, I passed them all. But the key point to this is your background is Punjabi. Okay, it's easy for you guys to learn it. If you've got GCSE, you've got to study a little bit harder and you'll get an A-level, you'll get the UCAS points, and it's easy for you then to obviously use those points to go to university.
The motivation's missing. That's the thing. The motivation is there.
But then if you think about it like this,
if
you think about it like this, okay, to get into university you need what, 3, 4 A-levels? Is it still the same?
Yeah.
Okay, so say for example
it's
it's 3.
now, but
Yeah.
points
Say
system.
for example it's the points equivalent of 3 A levels. Okay, realistically, you do Punjabi as an A level, you only need to do 2 at school or college, and then you've done it. Not saying that study less at school, but what I'm saying to you is that it's easy because you've got that background to do the Punjabi because you've already got the background and your parents can help you with it. Whereas your parents can't help you with the maths or sociology or business studies or history, like English history, but they can help you with Punjabi.
Okay, that's a nice reason.
Okay, that's
Thank
my
you.
point.
Thank you, Sharon.
The point is that fair enough, you can learn the Punjabi A-level easily if you've got a GCSE, but now that the government wants to scrap it, because there's not enough kids do it, or what's the big, why so many people making so much noise about it? Who cares then? If only 167 people do it, if they cancel it, not much big deal. So why is there so many people signing petitions and stuff
That's
and
the
keeping
why.
it alive?
That's what,
and
why?
if you look at the petitions, most of them aren't kids who are signing the petition. Most of these people are like 70 years old, 60 years old who are signing this petition, who've already done their Punjabi A-levels.
They probably haven't actually.
Yeah, they want to preserve the Punjabi. But if you want to preserve Punjabi, if they do cancel the A-level, they can still get teachers who will still teach you Punjabi. The A-level is just there to motivate the people, make another motivator. Why should the government create a motivator for you? You should maybe be able to motivate the own people yourselves. It's not the government's job to motivate you by giving you A-level to
definitely.
keep your language
Totally
alive.
agree.
So if they're cancelling your language, let them cancel
Agree.
it.
Now,
Keep it alive yourselves.
This is the why question. This is why we are here, because there's such a, there's people who are willing to defend it with their arm and their leg. Okay, but there's youngsters now growing up thinking, why are we doing it? Why are we bothering with it? What's the reason? These are the whys that I will probably put out to the community. Why? You need to come back to answer why we need to preserve Punjabi. What are the reasons? How do we motivate our youngsters? How do we inspire youngsters to find that link back, to have that inspiration to learn the language, to not just treat it like a language, which is something that they can just easily pick out, from a pot. And, there's loads of people who know Punjabi. We can just pick out. Sorry, no disrespect. I'm just saying, it's just youngsters nowadays do think that it's very easily accessible. Okay? Abhinur, what do you want to say?
These people, the people who write written novels and books like that, they've written it so at least it will progress, and other generations will be like, yeah, I like to read this book because they've made it for working hard. They worked hard and made this.
That's really nice, actually. That's a really nice point. Now, what it is, as I've said, a lot of people are outside India now, Punjab now. So all these novels, novelists, all this culture, all the history, everything else, all of that's going to just fade, basically, if youngsters don't carry on. I know you're saying we can still dip in and dip out, we can do that, But as I said earlier, as Jaswinder and Gershad made that point earlier, that standard, those extra topics, you will not pick those up
Yeah, so
in normal speaking.
yeah, so them novels. So you're
environment.
saying read novels and history
That's
and
not
stuff
it, that's
in
not- it's
Punjabi.
not just that.
So
Yeah,
to
you
read
learn
them, you
grammar,
need. Yeah, so if you want to read them,
formality.
so you want to read them and you want to keep the. But why do the government want you to read them? The government doesn't care if
You're
you
talking
read
about
them
the
or
English
not.
government?
The English government.
The
No,
UK
why
go-
should they
sorry,
give,
the
why
UK
should they give you
government?
A level just because you want kids to read the novels?
No,
Why
no.
should the
So
they
you're
give
talking about
you
the
A
UK
level?
government. Okay, UK government has what you know. If we can easily digress now. Their agendas. Okay, they want a multicultural Britain. They want to want to promote respect and things like that. But yes, they've got to deal with a lot of different people from different backgrounds, different religions. They don't want to do something. They don't want to support something which is not bringing them back money and business. And it comes down to a simple business argument, doesn't it? So it is down to us. It's down to us as a community. We fail somewhere
Yeah,
at
so
the moment.
there's no need for the Sikhs to start complaining that they've got no A level. Because for the A level, if they want to keep the Punjabi alive, it's not the government's job
But
to keep the A level alive.
I'm going to stop you for a second. Okay, last minute. What I want to do now, you are youngsters, okay? Now let's try move on a cycle and let's think that you do want to preserve Punjabi. Let's say, looking at it, you are the bunch of people who will save Punjabi. I'm going to put you on the committee. Even though right now you just said no,
I am
don't
saying
want
keep
A-level.
Punjabi
Let's say
alive.
that.
I'm not saying don't
no,
keep
no,
Punjabi
Punjabi
alive.
A-level, Punjabi A-level. Let's
Not keep Punjabi
you're,
A-level.
Yeah, you're on that new board now. Okay, we've got 1 minute now to convince, to put out some arguments to the community. How can they save it? To the old people who've lost touch, perhaps, the older generation. They've got no idea. They've failed to inspire you. They've not taught you properly. The techniques are awful. Okay, but okay, we are here where we are. We are at the brink of losing this. Okay, you are on the board. How do we save it? Let's have some ways forward.
Okay, so overall, I think that to promote it more and to increase the motivation, it's basically don't hold the actual classes. I mean, you can hold some of them, but don't hold all of them at the actual Gurdwara. Do them at school, do them after school clubs. A lot of the children out there, they go to after school clubs and things.
I totally
do
agree
it
with
there
that.
because they're already at school.
Good.
They're already learning at school.
I
so
like
do
that.
it
So
there.
bring Punjabi back into schools. Yes,
Yeah.
it phased out. Let's bring it back into schools. Okay, another point, please.
Also, to encourage it better as well, I think the teachers
Yes.
need to be more clued up, more
Okay.
younger, maybe more, drive the kids rather than
Okay.
force them to learn it. They need
Okay.
to basically
That's a really valid
you know,
point.
like they're at
Okay.
school now with normal languages and stuff, and
Okay.
kids and stuff. Be more polite and
Okay.
show the benefits rather
Thank
than
you.
force it.
Okay, so in schools, teachers more driven, perhaps some martial arts, more activities that kids like, and perhaps more role models, which was a really good point. Okay, Joss, you want to make a point quickly?
Yeah, can I add on to that? Yes, I agree. Yeah, teaching method has to be really inspiring kids. Yes, it has been changed. I can see from last 10, 12 years, I can see we're using more technologies,
Okay.
laptops, overhead projectors.
But we need more of them.
Yeah, we're using, I think, quite a lot of techniques now, which
Okay.
is helping kids to, that's why
But no,
obviously.
it's the way forward
yeah.
though. What else? What have you got to
we
add for
We
it?
should be using more like
We should be using more of
rewards,
technology.
rewards,
Okay.
and we should be doing more inspirations by taking them to trips and
More
stuff.
trips,
yeah.
more technology. Good. Any more point, Haki? One point from you. What would inspire you? What, rather than your mom going, Chal, Punjabi class, chal. Right, rather than that, okay, what would make you want to go to Punjabi class?
I think that need to see role models that actually use Punjabi in a way to
Okay.
like,
Role
progress
models
in life,
using
yeah.
Punjabi. Okay, good point. Back quick in that way. We'll come back to you if we have time. Okay, yeah.
You could probably put more acts up about Punjabi and stuff like
More
that.
what, sorry?
Like probably more drama for.
I like that. That's a really excellent. So bring Punjabi. It's not just religious. It's also cultural. There's social value. There's so much of the ways that you can bring people into Punjabi. Excellent, Kiran.
I think you just need more people need to inspire people to do Punjabi, do more Punjabi activities,
Okay, more
to
Punjabi
drag people into want to learn Punjabi.
More activities. Okay, so that's it to round up. Okay, we've got loads of problems. Okay, but I would suggest as part of this community that it's time we stop. We find out what the problems are. We look at the problems. We address the problems. And then we start looking at solutions. Now, no more justifications. We are where we are. We're almost in like a black hole. We're questioning. There's a why. We are in this situation. How do we address it? We need to take it forward. Youngsters have put out the problems. Yes, they're lacking motivation, inspiration. How do we go forward? They've also given some really good ideas. So it's up to everyone else now to take it forward. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.